Hello and welcome to Navigating to Success. I'm your host, Jeff Carlton, certified focal point, business and executive coach, and excited to have another guest from Wyoming on, Mr. Tim Walther, who is the president of Grand Dynamics, which is a really cool looking company that does some great stuff, kind of similar lines of work and bringing people together and leadership. But I won't steal the thunder. Tim, welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So tell us about Grand Dynamics.
Grand Dynamics is a team and leadership development company largely focused on experiential training and development programs and services. We've been in business for 26 years. We're based in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, deliver training events and experiential training programs all over the country and globally as well. We focus on the people side of the business development aspect and how to get people engaged, how to uh, cultivate a culture that's going to optimize performance for the organization.
Well, and that's been a theme lately. It's been recurring on the series here, is that the company built around the team is much more successful than the company built around the widgets.
Mm.
So I appreciate that approach as well. Is most of your work on site? Are people coming to Jackson, or how do you structure these events?
Yeah, we have I would say about 15% of our overall business is based in Jackson. Uh, Jackson Hole obviously is a beautiful destination. Never been. Great place to come check out with the Tetons and the greater Yellowstone area. And so we tend to focus our corporate retreats in the spring and the fall largely, and deliver a variety of different outdoor adventure-based training programs and experiences, getting outside, right? So our training events and team and leadership development programs are, let's say, less traditional. It's not going to be necessarily in the boardroom with the PowerPoint, but more so uh, outdoor and involves challenge experiences and adventure-based programs that provide the mechanism for um, people experiencing novel and unique things together and doing some fun things, some bonding, as well as focusing on the outcome, depending on where the team is at, what the stage of development of the team, and a whole variety of different factors that determines the design of what exactly we deliver.
And okay, so let me ask this: how big is Grand Dynamics with your core staff? Because you use contractors, but how
Yeah.
big is your core staff?
Yeah, we have about a team of seven full-time employees, and we have about 100 contractors that deliver our training programs, depending on where it is and what it is that we're doing and the type of programs that we're delivering. We have an elite team of contractors that are located all over the US and across the world that we call upon for particular multi-day retreats or team events or customized corporate large-scale programs.
So a typical engagement, you take the party to them. Is that accurate?
Yeah, like in the last, yeah. So yes, we go to destinations and we produce experiences that support really the mission that the company's trying to reinforce, right? So um, every business CEO or executive has a leadership focus on where they want to drive engagement and optimize performance with their team. So we help them. We help the leaders in businesses to accelerate and to optimize their performance on the human side of the business.
So um, going through and I think I understand, but I want everybody else to be clear. So you use the adventure training and maybe things that they wouldn't normally do, like get on a zip line or go rappelling or rock climbing or something like that. to kick them out of their comfort zone to help bring them back to some of those leadership visions?
Yes. So our tagline is leadership is an adventure, right? So we put the leadership first, and the mechanism for how we achieve that is through the adventure-based programming. And there's a whole variety of different psychological elements that go into the design of what it is that we're doing. Largely, we get hired to help level up the mindset that people are operating on in a business construct. So if you can expand the mindset around the potential of achieving various different business objectives or team objectives collectively as a team, then that's going to then impact the business performance, whether it's a sales team or whether it's an executive team. If you can collectively get people to begin to think differently about possibilities and how people are working together and having a strong bond between, that's going to open up and accelerate the trust. And when you have high trust, that's going to accelerate the decision making and ultimately the profits and whatnot. So we look at the soft stuff driving the hard results. And so how we do that is we create very unique experiences for people to share. And as part of that, there's a deeper conversation that happens after you've gone through any number of different types of experiences. So some of them take place in the mountains. Some of them are in a beach location environment or resorts. Some are at large scale conference rooms where we transform an entire hotel or a conference center into a cave system, for example, or a mountaineering experience. And we create very unique programs and experiences that really serve as the foundation for getting to some of the conversations and support the direction that the business is going.
No, that's it's a really cool concept, and there is a ton of psychological things that go into that, of taking people out of their comfort zones or putting them in comfort zones and getting them like-minded. So I really appreciate that approach. Um, let's talk about your business. What specific challenges did you face starting up? Jackson Hole looked a lot different 26 years ago than it does today.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the challenges there, or even ones that you still face today?
Well, it's interesting. So had the business. I was 27 years old at the time when I started the business, which, I had completed my bachelor's and my master's and worked for some different consulting companies, AN Consulting and Outward Bound Professional. And so I'd had a context for what other um, consulting companies and outdoor experiential training companies were providing in the industry. But it was, relatively new, and I was young, right? And then Jackson Hole and the environment, the air service was poor. The resorts were not, high caliber for executive retreats. The destinations just, we didn't have the infrastructure really here. So at the time, I had the vision for what was coming, but it hadn't happened yet, right? So it was a lot of foundation building from the environmental standpoint around, starting the business and starting small and then steadily growing. And then getting to the point where I realized pretty quickly that Jackson just wasn't big enough to sustain a business model that would work to be able to live here, and that I realized I had to go outside of Jackson to start delivering our programs. So it started with that, and then combine, being 27 years old, right, and all the kind of the belief systems you have to have around delivering a leadership training program with very experienced executives. And how can you do that when you're that young and don't have as much experience of some of the people that you're working with? So that a lot of the mindset training comes into play when you're faced with something that you don't have the experience with, and you need to make decisions around how you're focusing your time with the knowledge that you're really diving into so you can be an expert in your industry, reframing some of the questions around how you're approaching the business development. So for example, one of the things, one of the objections that I would run into was, well, you don't have as much experience, so how would you know how to help our business? And really, for me, I was skilled at asking the right questions. I didn't really pretend to be an expert in anyone's business. What I was really good at was leading them down the path to discovering their own solutions. So you can be an expert without necessarily being an expert if you reframe it and you add value in a different way. So I started doing things like that, and I was ravenously reading. I mean, just the amount of proactive focus on becoming an expert in the industry when I was at a younger age, starting out my business, was I was very dedicated to that. So I always wanted to be the most informed, smartest person in the room in regard to having the most recent content on the current leadership development models, you know, reading the Harvard Business Review, the Wall Street Journal, all the business publications, so I could have a conversation and very quickly be leading that conversation with as a content expert. Even though I, had the youth, I was still able to fully engage in the process of the business. So that was one of the more interesting things that I learned over the years. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned a few key ingredients that I think are often overlooked for aspiring entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs. One was vision. You said you had the vision of what you wanted the company to be. And I think a lot of people start businesses without a clearly defined vision. So it's like buying an airline ticket or a bus ticket. If you don't know where you want to go, it's kind of hard to plan the trip, right?
Yeah.
So, and then adaptability was the other thing I extracted out of that was you realized what the limitations were and you pivoted and changed the business model so that you could achieve your vision. And so that flexibility is another tool that entrepreneurs need to possess. I think very strongly.
Absolutely. And I think as an entrepreneur, we're constantly running experiments, right? We're constantly running experiments because if you want to innovate and be a leader in your industry, you have to be continually testing out different theories, right? And in my industry, it was all about creating new experiences. Like we don't deliver ropes courses. We don't deliver, if I were to explain to you some of the various different experiential training programs, you'd never be familiar with these things because they haven't been done because we created them. And we created them through a series of trial and error and creating these innovative ways to provide experiences for people. And part of our competitive advantage is we deliver things that no one's ever done before. And the only way you do that is by being creative, using your team to continually think about the thing that hasn't happened yet. And that requires some failure in the process, right? And there's a strategy for innovation around testing theories, getting feedback, and then implementing on the ones that you think are going to be effective and work well. And then surrounding yourself with people who are experts, right? So the contractors that I've brought together over the years, the 26 years with Grand Dynamics they're elite in their fields, right? And so they all bring different perspectives on what optimal performance is on an individual leadership level, personal level, and then for a team and business level. So you start learning from each other and you start creating these synergies that allow the team to create something that you couldn't create on your own. And so that's another key, I think, for business entrepreneurs is don't waste time on things that are marginal, right? Like if you want to buy clothing, for example, don't buy the piece of clothing that's going to be not worth anything in a year. Like invest in the thing that's going to be the piece of gear that you're going to keep and it's going to work really well. That's been my strategy for business investing is I don't base my business investment on the cheapest thing or the least expensive thing. No, you think about the outcome that you want to get and you do the thing that is going to be the best decision based on the quality that you're going to be getting. So there's kind of big differences in how one can decide to invest in what you're investing in, right? In a business. And that
Yeah.
same thing goes with your people development.
Yeah. And that's a good way to top off because the innovation thread that you started to pull there and willing to accept risk. And that's another thing that I think is important is for people to determine what their risk tolerance is while still maintaining quality. But as we're getting close to the end, what are the future plans? What does Grand Dynamics look like 12, 36 months from now?
Well, we're continuing to innovate all the time with our programs. The book up here, All in Adventure Stories, we're coming up on a year on this book. It's available on Amazon, it's on Audible and whatnot. And this book provides an insight into the types of experiences that we create for our corporate programs, but it's framed around adventure experiences that I've had personally over the last 30 years with various different people. About half of them take place in the Tetons and others are around the world. And it's a variety of different adventure sports. Everything from extreme skiing, ultra running, long distance swimming, alpine mountaineering, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, things like this. And they're mission centric, right? So there's a vision and a mission for an objective in the book. And then all the things largely that went wrong during the last 30 years. I chose those stories. Um,
Those typically teach us a lot more.
yeah, instead of the best of, it's like the worst of, right? But um, so we take these concepts, and I mention this because one of the chapters in the book is I present something called the all-in adventure method, and it's 7 steps for making good decisions and great decisions, really, in an adventure construct. And so you can apply the same principles to any business or entrepreneurial decision. And one of the elements is evaluating risk and how you evaluate risk and ultimately how you get yourself to make a good decision. And, it begins with understanding a lot of variables that people often overlook. So, I'm really excited. I'm excited about the storytelling component. Everyone has their own adventure story. Like being an entrepreneur, it's an adventure, right? Like the
Yeah, it is.
entrepreneurial experience, the leadership aspect, this is an adventure. And so we're all living this adventure in various different ways. And so our brand, our what we bring to the world is helping people to navigate the world of adventure in the personal and business context, right? So what comes with that is you have a framework, you have the psychology, the mindset, and then you have the experience, and then how it all relates to the daily actions you're taking. So, the next several years of Grand Dynamics is going to be a continual evolution as it has for the last many years. And we will continue to provide very unique experiences for businesses to help the business leaders and the people that they lead to elevate their potential in whatever it is that they're doing. And so that's what we're dedicated to and what continues to get me up full of excitement every day to help bring this sort of passion to the world of business.
Fantastic. And one more time, the title of the book.
The title of the book is All in Adventure Stories, The Bold Pursuit of Your Potential. It's available on
And
Amazon. Yep.
yeah, and fantastic. And how do people find you? Is it granddynamics.com?
GrandDynamics.com has all the business team and leadership development programs that we offer, and people can email us at info@granddynamics.com to get more information about that. And if people are curious about the book, you can go to allinadventurestories.com or just search it out on Amazon or Audible or anywhere that you find books online.
Fantastic. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. This has been a lot of fun. You some great insights and great things for people to think about. For everybody watching, check out Tim's book, All In Adventures. Check out Grand Dynamics. Great company, great philosophy, and great insights. So look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Navigating to Success, Business Journeys Explored. Tim, any final words?
leadership is an adventure, and there's a lesson in every adventure. So go out and find yours.
There you go. Thanks everyone for joining us, and thank you again.